Hello everyone and welcome to WooStream, where we're bringing Willamette to you. My name is Eric Lasan and today we're featuring Willamette Academy, a college access program at Willamette University that serves students by providing additional support outside of school through mentoring, tutoring, monthly Saturday sessions, and a summer camp. Willamette Academy reaches out to historically underrepresented communities by empowering youth who have the desire and potential to advance to higher education. It is my pleasure to introduce the Executive Director of Willamette Academy, Emilio Solano. Emilio is a member of the Willamette University class of 2009. After earning his BA in History and American Ethnic Studies from Willamette, Emilio went on to participate and teach for America. In addition to his experience as a former middle school history and language arts teacher, Emilio went on to serve as assistant principal at Camino Nuevo Charter Academy and as Dean of Students at the ICEF Inglewood Middle Charter Academy. Emilio returned to serve as the Executive Director of Willamette Academy in August of 2016. Emilio, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us about Willamette Academy, and we're looking forward to hearing from our student panelists today as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. Thanks everybody for being here. Loved seeing the sign-up list and love seeing already the Q&As and chat rooms and people excited about this session. Originally this was going to be a session we were hoping to do during Alumni Weekend, but I love that we're able to take this virtually and give you all a small update about what's been going on at Willamette Academy, especially during this challenging time, and provide some really exciting stuff at the end here. I'm going to keep my piece hopefully to 10 minutes or so. And really put the primary focus on the four amazing students that we have joining us this evening. So with that being said, I'll get right into it. And I just wanted to kind of start with grounding us kind of with who we serve and taking us back to really the purpose and the mission of Willamette Academy. Eric already shared the mission with us, but who we serve continues to remain strong in the populations we've wanted to since we were founded in 2001. So 90% of our students come from low-income families. 100% of our students are potential first-generation college students. And 100% of our students identify as historically underrepresented racial groups in U.S. higher education. Even during this really tough year, there have been a lot of really amazing things that have happened. Some real wins, as we'll call them. I think the part that I'm most excited about now in year 4 as executive director is we've had really strong foundation support this year. And with that foundation support, just overall budget health. And so Meyer Memorial Trust is a large Oregon-focused foundation. The Youth Development Council has now funded us during 2 different bienniums. And so that's been a really exciting time for us because it's allowed us to do a lot of things we've wanted to do, but we haven't always been able to do because of budget. We had a really great fundraising year last year, which allowed us to carry over some funds into this year. And so it's exciting to talk about the strength of our budget right now. And the strength of our budget going into the next fiscal year, something that we've worked really hard talking with donors, community supporters, and the foundations. And that's a huge credit to Christine Schanneberger and Aaron Bors, who are 2 of our big grant writers at the university, and they've worked really hard and tirelessly to make sure our program's supported in that way. The teacher in me is really proud of the curriculum development that we've been able to do these last few years, but particularly in this year, I think. Starting with summer camp, and some of you are on this call, we've had a really amazing faculty support during our summer camps. And so this past year, we had 6 different faculty that were teaching at our summer camp, and 2 alumni actually were going to be teaching. We've had 1 for a while now, Talia, who's amazing, but we're going to have 2 different Willamette Academy alumni who are now teachers that we're going to serve for, as 8th and 9th grade instructors if we were able to have a summer camp this summer. The other piece I think I'm really pumped about is campus and community partnerships. And so what that's looked like, besides the faculty teaching at our summer camps, is Willamette Community Bank and Capstone Wealth have come in and done financial literacy sessions with our students, which has been really, really amazing to have their support. Career development from the university did 3 different career exploration sessions with our 10th graders this year. And have continued to say they're going to continue to support us. So that's been really helpful. Admissions has come in and done multiple sessions at Saturday sessions with our students. They host a dinner every summer with our to-be seniors. And just their support has been really great too, as they really want our Willamette Academy students to think seriously about Willamette as a future endeavor for them. The financial aid office continues to come in and talk with our students about all things loans and grants, and not just talk about Willamette offers, but also talk about any offer that they have, any questions that they have, regardless of the school that it may be. That's been a huge support. We had Chemeketa come in this year and talk about the Chemeketa Scholars Program and the Oregon Promise, so that our students can understand that they may have the potential to go to Chemeketa for free, or at the very least have a lot of it paid for them given what their GPA may be. And then lastly, we had law students for the second year come in and do different sessions with our students. This year they focused on how to write briefs. And so they were looking at cases and trying to take that information and share a little bit about what a law classroom experience is like for our students that might be interested in that. Another piece this year that's been fun is we started an intern instructor program. And this is in partnership with the university again, where Willamette University students can actually get credit for teaching at our Saturday sessions. And so we were able to have 4 different students come in and serve in that role. And 2 of those 4 were previous Willamette Academy students. And so that was really neat for them to be an example for our students, to teach our students different lessons during Saturday sessions, to take some of their learnings that they've found in college and that they think is important for our students in the 8th to 12th grade range to understand. And so having them give back to the program that they were once a part of, get credit to do so, and to have their perspectives and their passions show up in the classroom was something new and something I'm excited about continuing in the future. And then I think there's just a general Willamette University integration that we've had over the years, but this year we've had a few new ones that have been really great. Delia Olmos Garcia, who is our program director, has worked really closely with the Tokyo International University of America and working with our American Studies program students. And so just last year, she was able to start an internship program with them where they supported in workshops during the school year and worked during summer camp, during our second camp, and were kind of RATAs in that role, leading different sessions, helping out with morning stretches, and just were a really huge help to have those students from Japan work with our program and get to know our students as well. Other areas, we were going to have our interviews this year at admissions at their office. That obviously, I'll update you on that later, but that was another piece which we're further getting integrated and having that in the actual admissions office. The Bearcat Pantry, which is a food resource on campus, a food and clothing share resource on campus. Our students are able to use that resource, and they have used that resource, which has been great. The Service Learning Office, we were working closely with them to see how our students could also work with Willamette students in service learning. And then Career Development Office also offers drop-in hours for our students to come in anytime, office hours that they have questions about resumes or anything career related, that they can utilize that resource as well. And then lastly, we've been on campus now for over 2 years in our new location. But I gotta say, this has been the first year that students have noticeably utilized the bistro. And so that's been really neat to see students continue to engage with students in that way on campus, and just engage with our campus in general. They go get hot chocolate, they'll grab a cookie, they'll come back and they'll take care of their homework. If you visit the bistro, you can see their names written in chalk on the brick. And so that's been a really neat thing to see grow over the time as our students get more and more comfortable on campus and really make it their own. The last thing I'll say on this piece is we've had some real accomplishments of our students. We have a student that was a Hamilton Scholar this year. She just found out, and she is one of 35 students from across the country that is a Hamilton Scholar. We just found out we have a LEDA Scholar as well, and she was chosen as one of 100 students across the country. And this will be additional support for them as they think about college, as they start applying to college. And support them while they're in college. So really neat things for them. The Hamilton Scholar piece actually came to us from a Willamette student who was a Hamilton Scholar and gave presentations throughout the year. And so it was neat to see Angel's hard work pay off with one of our very own becoming a Hamilton Scholar. The last piece there is the Ford Scholarship. We had 5 finalists this year out of our senior class, and 4 of those 5 received the Ford. And the Ford Scholarship takes care of their of 90% of their remaining need that they have with whatever college they would like to attend or they've been accepted to in Oregon. And we actually have a Ford Scholar that's on this call that will speak a little bit more to that later. But really excited about that. I'm not sure if that's our largest group we've ever had become Ford Scholars, but it's a really strong number. Last year we had 2, this year we had 4, and we hope to continue to have trends like that. Responding to this challenge, we've done a lot of the same things the university has done and districts have done. We had to cancel all in-person academy programming starting on March 14th. Which meant we took workshops and mentor meetings virtually. And we are going to be conducting 7th grade student interviews. Deli and I are going to start that this week, actually. And those will all be done virtually as well. But we're excited to get creative on how we can still bring in a new 7th grade class so that they can hopefully start on time with everyone, depending on what restrictions we have at that time. We also unfortunately had to cancel traditional summer programming, which is tough for us because I think with these challenges, so much of what we do and at the core of what we do is rooted in community and spending time together in community and being together on campus. And so the biggest challenge has really been not being together with this response. But we've learned some things along the way. I think one thing I'm really proud of is the strength of our staff. And that's myself, Deli, of course, but really our student staff, who's at the core of kind of the day-to-day of what we do in supporting our students. This was reflected in their ability to quickly adjust, take things virtually, and get creative on how we can continue to support our students. I think the response and how we've gone throughout this process, there's a real strong culture of accountability, and that has made the transition easier for our students as well. And then lastly, I think a big piece of this, what we've learned is our social emotional connection that our mentors have with our students is strong. And actually having these mentor meetings over Zoom or Google allowed for breaks in our students' days. They really looked forward to that time with their mentor because it was another person to talk to maybe outside of their home. And so we still see these strengths reflected even though we've taken things online. I think the last piece is that online learning is hard. I can't tell you any silver bullet that we found in the work we've done. I can tell you that we had to make some decisions when it came to what workshops we were going to offer, if we were going to continue to offer Saturday session programming virtually. And we really decided to kind of pump the brakes on a lot of that and think about what is the most important stuff that our students get. And so we continued with those workshops. We continued with a lot of the senior transition workshops to make sure that they were prepared for that high school to college transition. But a lot of the workshops we did with our 8th through 11th graders were rooted in community building. Kelsey, our operations aspect, created a lot of different workshops that were quizzes or different games that we could do online so that students could interact with each other even during Zoom. And so that was a lot of fun. We did a lot of those during our staff meetings as well. But at the end of the day, our focus really became how can we try our best to keep our community connected virtually and really get them the information that we feel is most important for them to get at this moment and not just keep adding on to their plate because we feel like we need to add things for them to do. And then I'm really I'm proud of every graduating class, and I know there are alumni on this call. We've got such special students that are incredibly passionate, hardworking, and have really amazing plans for themselves. This year, I think what you'll see with this slide is I think it's the most diverse group of schools that we've sent our students to, that they have made these decisions about. And it's exciting for me because this is something we've really pushed for a while now, is trying to get them outside of their comfort zone, finding schools that they can financially afford, finding schools that can take care of full financial needs should they get in. And I think that's really what this has shown. We've had a lot of conversations with them about picking those schools. And so some schools I just want to pick out in particular, Colgate, Occidental, Reed College, and Willamette are all schools that either met our students' full financial need or came really close to meeting their full financial need, which just eliminates that barrier for them and makes it easier. And that's been a huge thing to see as they start to identify those. We have 2 students that are going to be going to Occidental on almost full need based grants and scholarships. Colgate, we actually have an old Willamette University staff member, an old friend of mine from school, who is an admissions counselor over there. And Raquel, who is on this call, let her talk more about her experience with Colgate. But he reached out to me when he saw Willamette Academy on her application and was really excited to get an application for Willamette Academy. For Occidental, we've had them come and present. They've wanted to present at Willamette Academy, which has been really neat for them to give an info session and then see that we have 2 students coming to them next year on essentially full financial need met, scholarships and grants there. We've had Stanford come in the past, we've had Pomona come in the past, and we've been able to send students to those schools in the past. And it's great to see that relationship continue to build, because I think it just gives further proof that the work that we're doing and that we're putting in is really working, and that our students are starting to make those connections and see the possibilities that this next step in their life could take. It really validates what we're trying to do here. So I think that's where I will stop on my update on what's happening at WA. Overall, I think we're making ground on a lot of different things, but mostly we've just been trying to take care of our students and take care of their families as best we can. I think this has really focused us on truly being community navigators, understanding what our students need and trying to connect them to the resources that they need in this kind of moment of need. So I'll leave it there and open it up, I think, Eric, to just some questions that you all might have for me. And then I'll go into the real portion, the best portion of this panel, this piece, I think, which is our panelists, our student panelists.
All right. Thanks, Emilio. A few questions are coming in. One question is regarding communication with parents during these challenging times. How's that been so far?
We've been able to build an email list, which has been nice. Not all of our parents have emails, but so we've been able to send updates through them through that piece. I know that through Carla, our Puentes ASPA, whose primary task is communication with parents, she's been able to reach out to families when we've had to give updates like summer camp being canceled. We've had to give updates like the initial piece of academy and campus being closed. So that's been really nice. And Delia has an amazing relationship with our parents as well. I couldn't get a hold of a few of our seniors to take some pictures for their senior photos. And Delia was able to text parents and call parents and instantly get responses. And so I think, we do as best as we can to communicate via email. And where we're not able to do that, we make sure to reach out over, phone or text or whatever that means is. And so I've been really pleased with the way we've been able to communicate with parents. And I've also been pleased with the way our students have been able to relay information to parents, which is not something students are always able to do easily.
Right on. Thanks. Another question is, what are your hopes for next year as you look forward?
Yeah, that's tough. My hope for next year is that we're able to do a lot of the things that we do well. I think we're going to come back to a very different campus environment. I know that our after school portion is going to be different. We're going to have to space students out in our computer lab. We just got brand new furniture for our largest classroom in our space. And we're going to which is nice because we'll be able to move some of that furniture around, but we're going to have to space it out. How will mentor meetings look? Will we be wearing masks while we have mentor meetings? Will we have to spread out into different sections of our space to make sure that the mentor and mentee are spaced out enough? Those are challenges that I'm thinking about throughout the summer and how to tackle. But I really just hope we continue to grow as a program. It's nice when I can say that we're financially secure for this year and next year, which really allows us to continue to think about, okay, how can we continue to grow that financial security in endowment support or annual support from new donors. But really what it allows us to do is get hyper-focused on the program and continue to see where we can go next. And so I'm confident in the team we have around us to make sure that whatever reality we come back to in August, as we start to plan this out, is a reality in which we're serving our students and the families the best we can.
Excellent. Excellent. Another question is about digital access. Have you had issues with your students being able to access you and your services from home?
Yeah, great question. We were really, really concerned about that when we started. But luckily, the Salem Keizer School District has been really amazing, and they were able to check out Chromebooks with internet capabilities, with cameras, with all of those capabilities for students to check out and take home with them if they needed to do so. Another challenge is just Wi-Fi in the home in general. I know the district had been working with hotspots and things like that and getting those to students as well as local companies like Comcast and CenturyLink. I think we're working with families to try to, with students to try to get access that way. That's a challenge we're going to continue to have, I think. That Wi-Fi piece, cell phone, most of our students have cell phones, but they're not computers. They don't have all of the needs that our students have. And so one thing Deli and I have already talked about a lot is identifying what technology access our students have in their homes at the beginning of next year. So that if we do have this moment happen again where we're doing remote learning and we're back at home and we're taking things virtually, we can also be a support in that and try to identify resources, because we already know what families are going to need those resources, and we can do it ahead of time.
All right, thanks a bunch. I think this might be a good natural break to pivot to the student panel.
Great. Okay, so we've got 4 panelists, and I'll ask them to turn their screens on if they are able to today, and going to a variety of schools, and I think can really speak well not only to their academy experience, but really speak to their unique experiences as they've started to identify what schools are going to be attending next year. So that's Andrea, Edgar, Raquel, and Oscar. I will let them introduce themselves right now. Let me actually get out of my share screen here. There we go. And let me get here. Okay, awesome. So Andrea, why don't we start with you? Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, name, school, and some activities that you're involved in besides Willamette Academy.
Sounds good. All right. My name is Andrea Garcia Torres. I went to South Salem High School, and I will be going to Oregon State University Honors College. In school, I was part of Saxon Strong, which is a suicide prevention club. I was secretary of Key Club, which is a community service club, and president of French Club. Yeah.
Thanks, Andrea. Edgar, why don't you do next?
So my name is Edgar Villa. I went to South Salem High School. I will be attending Willamette University. A few activities I was involved in besides Willamette Academy was mainly sports. I participated in tennis, soccer, which was high school and club. I also started a religious club in my own school, which was pretty fun. And yeah.
Thank you, Edgar. Raquel.
Hello, everyone. My name is Raquel Marquez Guerrero. I attended McKay High School, where I was a part of the student government program, where I was able to be a sophomore representative, ASB vice president, and ASB freshman activities coordinator. I was also heavily involved in band, involved in all ensembles. I was a part of the Youth in Government program, as well as Community 101 and TAT, also known as Teen Action Team.
Thank you, Raquel. And Oscar.
Hi, my name is Oscar. I went to North Salem High School. I am planning to go to Occidental College. Some activities I was involved in, a lot of band as well. I participated in marching band, basketball band, wind ensemble. I played the tuba, if you'd like to know. That was my favorite instrument. I was also part of math club, National Honor Society, Spanish Honor Society. And in terms of sports, I did track and field and some football. That's about it.
Thank you, Oscar. Okay, so our first question, and I'll kind of let you just kind of jump in here. Well, actually, we should probably go in order. Zoom is tricky like that. So Edgar, why don't we go first, and then everybody else start thinking. what have you learned about yourself, your education, or your future goals during this pandemic? Like, what realities have that maybe set in for you?
Okay, so for myself, something I've realized is that before the pandemic, mostly in my family, our schedules didn't mesh too well, so we didn't get to talk as much as we would have liked to in the last few years I had in high school. But since after the pandemic, we've had a lot of time together, and I guess that's shown me how much I truly value my family and how much I value spending time with them. So what I learned about my education is that I truly value learning, and since the pandemic, I've kind of been it's kind of been hard to try to educate myself, considering that at South it was I was already passing my classes and am fully graduated, so I haven't had to really take any classes online. I've kind of learned to appreciate trying to what learning actually is, right? So I've kind of been trying to educate myself on a few things like programming and stuff on my own time, and that's been really fun. So future goals I have during the pandemic so far, I guess mainly just to try and teach myself anything I can right now, and try to make the most of the extra time I have right now.
Raquel, why don't you go next?
Yeah. So something that I have learned throughout this time is that I like to do things independently, which can be a negative when I am in need of help, which causes me to be it's really hard for me to ask for help, even at times when I most need it. So that's something that I learned about myself, and I want to continue to work on. But with that being said, in this time where it's kind of strange and it's been a very long time, it's impacted my self personally, in my education and in my future as well, because I've learned that I've been able to allow myself to be more dependent on Andrea and the Willamette Academy and all the community members that have joined together to help out all the students. So that's one thing that I found super helpful, and it has caused me to learn that, I don't always ask for help, which brings me to, I also learned that I really care about building relationships, whether it's with teachers or students. Building that community is something that has been very valuable to me, especially since my community at school, whether it was at the clubs that I had or the teachers that I trusted, that being cut away from me in this time, especially in this scary time, has been something that has impacted me negatively, but something that has helped is seeing how much everyone cares about all their students and how much they care about seniors, coming together to find solutions to these problems, solutions to how they're going to celebrate us, how they're going to support us, to make sure that we know that we care, that they care about us. So that's what I've learned.
Oscar or Andrea? Who's next? Let's go, Oscar. Sorry, Oscar.
Well, what I've definitely learned about myself is that I definitely value the time that I spend within a community. Willamette Academy has definitely rubbed off on me in that way, that I really learned to be grateful for the small moments that I have with other people. In terms of my education, not much has changed from before the pandemic. I definitely still have a lot of the same goals. Of course, the path towards those goals have changed a little bit, but I do know that eventually we'll get to that point, no matter what. And I guess the last thing would be that I love baking. It's fun. It's delicious. So.
I love it. Baking. That's great. Awesome. And finally.
Me. So I think about myself, I've learned that I actually really like to read. With school, we had assignments and we had to read these books, but I've had a lot of more free time to read books that I actually want to read, which are books are actually interesting. But in terms of education, I'm actually taking college classes, and I've been learning to be more organized and managing my time more wisely, since you can't really study in a coffee shop. You have to like be in your house, and it's kind of dealing with family stuff and helping my other cousins with their homework, and then trying to focus on my own as well, which has been a little bit challenging, but been learning how to manage my time a little bit more wisely. And as for my future goals, looking at our healthcare workers has enforced my passion to be or to help people as a doctor in the future. And I've seen how all of our healthcare workers are working really hard and are sacrificing so many things, which has just built my passion for being a doctor one day. Yeah.
Amazing. That's great. What are some barriers or were some barriers in your pursuit of higher education? And I think this could be, barriers that you've been through for a while now. I mean, this could be new things that maybe have presented themselves in this particular moment. So either one of those I think would be appropriate. Let's start with Raquel on this one.
I think one of my biggest barriers was in between of like lack of knowledge, especially since there's always that feeling of I don't know how to do things. I don't know where to start. For me, starting was always the biggest problem for me. So it was really easy to like put things back because I would be like, I don't know how to do it yet, so I'll do it later. So that was one of my biggest barriers. Another barrier would be like this year would be like not feeling competent or like fear of applying to certain schools. Even though like what helped at Willamette Academy was like you giving us the options of researching these schools that are out of state and not the school that's like really close to home, and getting those conversations building up gave me the opportunity to actually apply to these schools, and now I will be furthering my education outside of the state. So those are one of my biggest barriers that I realized shouldn't have been barriers, but that's why I'm thankful for Willamette Academy. Another barrier for me would be learning how to prioritize. That came really this year, learning how to prioritize like scholarship applications, college applications, which essays I need to work on, when I need to work on, and then also balancing like social life, wanting to do all these senior activities, and then also having to do AP classes still, and still being involved with like clubs and all these things, to the point where I had to learn, I had to do some things, I had to sacrifice some other things.
Oscar, how about you?
I think I can say a lot of my barriers were similar to Raquel in that I guess I can speak and standpoint from before at Willamette Academy was just the lack of information and lack of knowledge of how the college process worked, of in general just colleges. I mean, before really looking into all these other universities, I was like OSU was like the only one I knew of, and I was like super bent because that was just it. I like, that's all I knew. And so I guess as soon as I was able to really get into being able to research all this stuff because of Willamette Academy, I really got to expand my horizons as to what I actually really like. And in the end, I was able to find that I like something. I mean, I ended up finding my college. And so that was definitely a big barrier. And of course, a barrier of money. Money was always a barrier. So I was always worried about that when I was figuring out where I wanted to go. And of course, where I ended up going was able to fix that. So, but yeah.
Thank you, Oscar. Andrea.
For me, I think the biggest barrier was that when my parents didn't graduate from high school, So moving on to high school was a big change for me, and knowing that I couldn't really get support or educational support from them was really hard for me. And I was thinking I was going to go through high school and kind of go in blindly. But thankfully I got a lot of support from the academy, and my parents did too. And now they're super knowledgeable and teaching me all these things. But that was a big barrier, along with money, how Oscar said. We saw that a lot of other students were getting all these other resources because they had the money to, or like preparing for SATs, they were getting private tutors or all these other things. Again, the academy helped. They were super helpful with that. But yeah, I think those were the biggest barriers. And of course, the academy was here to support us through it all.
Ah, that's nice to hear. Edgar.
Yeah. So I feel like some of us already kind of touched on it, but kind of want to emphasize it again, right? I feel like most of us had like a lack of knowledge when it came to the college process. I was like, for me specifically, I wasn't even aware of how much knowledge I lacked, and the academy was able to, help me a lot. Like I didn't know. If I was by myself, I don't know if I could have, filled out FAFSA because my parents, they struggle a lot with English, right? So I would have mainly like relied, it would have fallen like on myself, right? And the academy helped me out with that. It also helped me a lot with, actually applying to colleges, having to write the Common App essays, which were, edited by some Willamette University students, which also helped a lot. So a huge barrier was just like lack of knowledge about the college process. Another huge barrier as a first generation student, right, is that my parents aren't as aware of what it takes to be a student, mainly because like neither of my parents went to high school, right? So it's kind of like hard for them to understand that like, I have homework to do sometimes I need to go do clubs and stuff like that, right? And for me specifically, I'm like expected to like help a lot around the house and like a family business. My dad's a landscaper. So I guess a barrier was kind of like trying to like communicate the need for either time or the need for, materials to my parents and like explain to them why it mattered so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Edgar. Next question. What impact, and you've already kind of shared this, so if you've already shared it, you already said what it is, you feel free to pass or say something short or whatever you want to do, but what impact has WA had on you, your family, maybe even your friends? Let's go with Oscar starting us off this time.
I'd definitely say for sure the biggest impact WA has had on me and my friends, I'd say, is exposure. I mean, like, and that can come in many different ways. Exposure to working in a team, exposure to leading a team, exposure to the college classroom, exposure to, I can go on probably for hours, but that has been one of the biggest benefits, I'd say, that WA has brought to me. And in doing that, I'm also able to kind of do that to other people as well, kind of teach them what it's like. Because I mean, I didn't realize, I guess, kind of like Edgar was saying, I didn't realize what I didn't know until I knew it. And I was able to kind of teach my friends who didn't realize they didn't know it, of course, because that's the position I was in at one point. And I mean, just spreading that information has already helped improve both, not just the WA community, but the community it's surrounded by. And yeah, those are my points.
Thanks, Oscar. Andrea.
Just like Oscar said, not everyone got to be part of the academy, so it was kind of us sharing our knowledge that the academy gave us, and then to share to other people who didn't get the chance to be part of it. And that was huge for me because, like, I would ask you, Emilio, or Delia these questions, and then, like, right after I'd be, like, texting my friends, like, hey, this is the answer to this, or this is how you do this. And I found that to be really helpful and really nice to be able to help my other friends. But also, it gave me a family. That was big. I got all of you, which I get to share everything with you. Like me and Noe, which we were waiting for Ford to announce everything. We're like constantly texting each other to make sure that we heard together. Or it was just, it's nice. And I also got my best friend through the academy by forcing us to declump, which is really nice. But yeah, I got all of you, which I am so grateful for. Yeah.
Edgar.
Yeah, so one of the biggest impacts Willamette Academy has had on me is that it's I feel like it helped like either ignite or at some points reignite, you know, educational like curiosity. Sorry, I have a stutter. Yeah, so I feel like most students when they transition into high school, when they're bombarded with, you know, how much homework is expected to them, depending on like what type of classes they take, a lot of the curiosity they had, you know, like in their earlier years, like, you know, like in elementary where you're like learning for the sake of learning, sometimes like goes away, right? And what Willamette Academy was able to offer me was that like during the summer, right, we kind of took some classes, some courses with amazing Willamette teachers that helped, you know, reignite that curiosity. You know, one that comes to mind is David Craig. He's a really nice, fun Bergman that is able to teach very nicely and enthusiastically. So I appreciate him a lot. An impact it's had on my family, right, is that you know, it kind of like showed them how important education was, right? Because like I said, my parents, they neither of them went to high school and neither of them went to college, right? So they didn't really understand how important you know, college could be to a person, right? And definitely once they were introduced to the academy and they you know, quickly started learning some things, they kind of like understood how important this could be and how important it could be to me, right? So specifically that kind of helped you know, it kind of helped me gain support from my parents as well, which was incredible too, right? And just like Andrea mentioned, right, I was able to help my friends with things they didn't really know, you know, because not every single student that, you know, lacks knowledge about the college process gets a resource like Willamette Academy, right? So things I learned from the academy, I was able to like help out other students who weren't able to, you know, get those things. Yeah.
Thanks, Edgar. And Raquel.
Yeah. Not sure what I can cover now. But I think
It's tough going last.
yeah. I think I'll start with like not only does it provide resources for us as students, but it also provides resources for parents as well. I want to talk about a little bit about the Puente session. One thing this year was my dad was able to go to one of his first Puente session because my mom couldn't go to one of them, and so she was like, "You have to go." And to our surprise, my dad actually went, and it was a surprise to me to come back when he picked us up, and he was like, "Oh, have you done this? Have you done this?" They said you have to have this done by now, and it was a little. It took me by a little surprise. It was a little cute because I've never. It was like my dad learned something, and so he was like ready to use it. But it also felt really reassuring that even though it kind of felt like I was kind of navigating through this like college application sort of independently because they're not able to help me with to the extent that they can because they have to work or they just don't know much about the college application. So like the impact of like how Willamette Academy doesn't only want to have this relationship with their students, they have to have a relationship with the parents of the students. And so that to me, that little short story kind of like made me realize like how much like Willamette Academy actually has done for me and my family. And then another thing that Willamette Academy has really like helped out and made an impact on my life is just summer camp. Not only do we see each other when school's in session, we come back and we see each other again during the summer. And this year, this past summer, able to attend Sal Camp, which was one of the best experiences of my life. And it seems to me like every time I go to summer camp, it's always like the highlight of my summer. Not only do I make more friends, get to know my peers even more, I get to spend time with the friends I already have and become even closer to each other. And those who go to the same school with me will come back and have inside jokes already, starting into this new school year, and everybody would be like, what? And we just be like, it's a Willamette Academy thing. But not only do we build relationships during summer camp, it's teaching us what we should expect for the next year, what we need to be prepared for, and teaching, getting experiences into these classes taught by Willamette professors. So that has been a really big impact on me. And not only that, the resources are immense. Writers Bureau was really helpful with college applications, with essays, and also it allowed me to ask for help right there. I just needed, with one click of a button, I could have someone read my essays, and to me that was really helpful, especially applying to programs. And ultimately it led me to have the opportunity to be able this past summer be able to be in a program and go to Washington DC for 3 weeks with all expenses paid, and be able to build relationships with students all around the country, and getting a sense of what it feels to be out of state. It was a little weird, but I was able to meet people around the country and be able to be the best of friends with them, to where I bawled my eyes out when I had to leave. But it also gave me a sense of education in other schools, and how others are being prepared, and how I've been able to be as prepared as them and be in the same places as them with the help of Willamette Academy, which only says that Willamette Academy not only impacts myself, but my friends and my community, because I can also make that impact to others, to where I have shared tips and shared these programs that I've applied for, and shared what colleges people should apply to. And so, yeah, not only does Willamette Academy directly impact our community, but indirectly because of the great community leaders it built.
Thanks, Raquel. I know I can speak for Delia when I say some of our favorite conversations are each year with senior parents, as they start to have the realization that you all are going off to college, and how scared they are, or how just because you're not going to be around every day. And so I can echo that, and how much fun we have at the senior camp as well. Okay, this is a question I hope all of our participants are waiting for, but tell us about your college search process, and why you ultimately decided to choose the school that you did. We got a good diversity of schools that you have chosen, but let's talk a little bit about the process itself. Andrea, why don't you start us off?
All right. Well, we started our college process in the summer of junior year, I think. We started writing essays, which was super fun. But we got a lot of feedback from Mrs. Niedermeyer, which she was amazing. But it was really helpful to us because going into the school year, not a lot of our friends had started, and we just kind of felt like we had that heads up and we were prepared, and we just kind of kept that rolling. So we were going, and we were really, pushed to challenge ourselves and go beyond just our match schools and go for those reach schools and really try and challenge ourselves, which I find really helpful. But I applied for most of my schools early action because I like to have things done early. But I applied to a total of 14 schools, and I got accepted into 12. And I knew with the help of a lot of people, I was in between 4 schools, and I was talking to Andrea, our mentor, constantly, making sure I had all these details done. And I think at one point we started talking about coffee shops around the universities to make sure we really like the university. We looked for movie theaters and how the town looked and everything. It was actually really nice. But OSU stood out to me because I really like science. I'm a STEM-based girl. And I applied for the Honors College. You all pushed me to, and I was really excited and really nervous. And when I got the letter, you all were the first ones to know. But I got kind of like that small community with the Honors College within a big school like OSU, which has a plethora of resources, and I fell in love with it. But yeah, and going through scholarships with the help of you all too. Yeah, I kept applying and applying and applying and applying and applying and applying. And then hearing back from those, a few days ago, I heard from Ford, and I got a yes. So I'm a Ford Scholar, which was super exciting. Thank you, Oscar. But yeah, we heard back from that, and it was kind of like this, open the letter, just see congratulations, and we start jumping and screaming and crying. But that was kind of the point where I was like, I'm actually going to college, and I can do this, and I can pay for it. And kind of right there, I was like, it's going to be OSU. I can pay for it, and it's going to be awesome. I found my roomie, so we're all set to go. And I started shopping for stuff to put in my college dorm already, so I'm super excited for that. But yeah, I will be going to OSU Honors College, which I'm super excited for, and I will be studying biohealth sciences with an option in pre-med, and hopefully be a general surgeon one day. So yeah.
That's great. Congrats. It's amazing. And I saw it firsthand. She applied to a ridiculous amount of scholarships and has found internships to help pay for OSU on top of this Ford scholarship she's going to get, which is just super exciting. Raquel, why don't you take it next?
Okay. So like mentioned before, my college search started with a piece of paper. Emilio said, okay, you gotta start your college search, like search up where it is, search up how much it costs. And so that's where my college search started. And ultimately it led to months and months of college search, scholarship search, everything search, to the point where sometimes it became overwhelming. But for me, I spent a whole summer. It started with South Camp, and after, I didn't even get to finish South Camp when I had to leave to Washington, D.C., to another program where it was for Latino students, high-achieving Latino students, that taught us more about what it is to have an identity, and also apply it into furthering my education. So I spent not only researching at South Camp, I also spent researching at George Washington University at Caminos al Futuro. But to me, there I more searched states out of state, because I was interacting with no other people from Oregon. It was from all different other states like California, Arkansas, Kansas. It was surreal. But I started searching schools out of state, and that became more of an option for me because they were telling me that I could attend these schools. And so after that, I actually got contacted by a previous person from Salem who got admitted to Stanford, who sent me a list of, here is something that I found. It's a list of schools with full financial need. And so I was able to pick ones that I wanted to apply to, and ultimately got accepted to more than one, which was very exciting for me. And it wasn't something that I thought would be a possibility even less than a year ago. And I ended up getting news. I had a really difficult time choosing between two schools, and that to me was a privilege, because not only were my parents not only able to do this, I would be the first one to ever think of going out of state for college. And I had to choose between George Washington University and Colgate University. And luckily, I had two great financial aid packages. And partly due to Willamette Academy, I wasn't able to be part of this program in Washington, D.C. and be able to be at Colgate University when I heard Emilio tell me, they seem really interested in you. And I was like, I don't want to think that they are interested in me just because I don't want to be disappointed when I get the rejection letter. But it was really cool to get those yeses and to see the congratulations on my screen. And then also I was able to be accepted into a scholars program at Colgate University and also a scholars program at George Washington University that gave me really good financial aid packages. And ultimately, I decided with Colgate University, which was even farther than I even imagined, because I was like, I'm going to apply to George Washington University and I'm going to go there. But learning more about the community that I would be able to build at Colgate University was something that led me to make that decision, because community is very important for me, and also knowing that I would be financially supported at a school is very important to me too, because money doesn't come naturally in communities, especially low-income communities that I have been surrounded by at my school and at where I have always been around. So being able to be a part of a scholars program that would be sort of building me up and building that community was something that led me to choose Colgate University.
It's amazing. Yeah. Jameer actually, who's from Colgate, who I think he was on this call earlier, but it's just, Raquel really used her networks in this, the people she met that summer to know that she really wanted to go to George Washington, to utilize that. It was really neat to see her kind of figure out where she was going to apply to and what she was going to apply early decision to based off of what she kind of felt like she might be able to get. And yeah, so she really played this perfectly. Edgar.
Yeah. So for me, the college search process, I feel like started, pretty early. I was involved in other college readiness programs such as like Avid, and early on they make you have like a college list, right? But I will say my college search process did not actually start until the summer before senior year, and that's mainly because I feel like no other program that I've participated in has, kind of like hammered the importance of starting the college search process early than Willamette Academy, right? Since the summer we had great leaders like, Emilio and some mentors that kind of like, forced us and like made sure that we had a really good college list, right? And that we fully understood the demographics of the school, how big it was, how what percentage of it were underrepresented students, how safe we would feel there and stuff like that, right? So I say thanks to the Academy for that. So I ultimately decided that I would be attending a Willamette University, right? And one of the main reasons behind that is that I feel like I already had so many roots already embedded into the school, right? Most of those already come because of Willamette Academy, right? So I've already been on campus for more than 4 years, and I also had some connections outside of the academy. My soccer club coach is the head coach at Willamette, right? So he kind of like always, pushed the idea of Willamette being a really good option. And, I've always thought it was a really good option, right? So with the roots I already had embedded into the university, I kind of felt uncomfortable having to like dig them up and going somewhere else, right? So for me, it was kind of like more of an obvious choice, right? I grew up with the university already because of the academy. And even thinking about it now, right? The first time I stepped foot on campus was my time in elementary, because I was in my elementary they had a program called Tiger Club, which helped underrepresented students, with like schoolwork and stuff, right? That like that, right? And like at the end of the, towards the end of the year, we got to like adventure on campus and stuff, right? So, for me, right, I've always just like been on campus and like, I already had roots established, right? So it kind of felt like an obvious choice. In addition to that, right, financially, Willamette is a super, super amazing option, right? So something that specifically like, that stood out was the CAP program that Willamette Academy offers, right? So, and what that basically is, right, that it kind of like helps, with extra costs that you need to attend, right? So like, it kind of like gives the students like an extra nudge to go to the university because, it gives them a really good financial aid package, right? And for me, that was really important because, our EFC is pretty low and my family can't contribute much to my education financially, right? So for me, that was super important. And it's mainly because of that I feel like I can, attend a university and not have to worry about loans and not worry about debt in the future. So I'm extremely grateful for that.
Thanks, Edgar. I appreciate that. Yeah, it looks like right now we'll probably have somewhere between 6 and 10 students utilizing that college achievement plan and going to Willamette next year, which is exciting. We're really pumped. Oscar, your process.
My college process probably very similar to a lot of other people's. An unreal amount of college posters, pro-con tables, research tables, like all these things, all these resources that not only were provided by Willamette Academy, but like Avid as well, if you're ever a part of Avid, where you just list down any interest in any colleges that you might have. You write it down. You write down their information, cost, clubs you're interested in, and that all helps you kind of narrow it down. You just keep narrowing it down, until you get top 3, and then you get those top 3. And especially once you start narrowing it down, the one thing I'd say that anyone should always do is visit the college. Like, you can learn a lot from their webpage, from their statistics, whatever. But the most important thing the most important experience that you can have to really get immersed into that college is to visit it. And that was, in the end, what got me to go to Occidental College. Was I got the chance to stay at Occidental for 2 nights. Full expenses paid through one of their programs that they offered, and I got to experience the college classroom. I got to talk to a lot of students, and I fell in love with the campus, the atmosphere, the community, all these things that I really valued in a college. And that's kind of how I ended up deciding. And it was between Willamette, Reed, and Occidental. And after being able to visit all of them, that's when I really was able to make my decision. So. Yeah, that'd be about how I went about it.
Well, and you liked Occidental so much that you decided to apply early decision, right?
Oh, yeah. I ended up applying early decision. That's how sure I was after like really immersing myself into its culture. So, yeah, for sure. Visit colleges if you have the chance.
Yes, and I think that's another thing. Oscar's done a great job. We've had students in the past as well, but us trying to identify what schools offer those fly-in programs, and us on our end, from Delhi and my perspective as well, is recommending students to those schools so that they can reach out about trying to get them to fly in. So that's something we're trying to do more and more of. And a big thing is because, Oscar, you did that earlier this year as well, which is amazing. Okay, we got one last question before we open this up to questions from our participants. I guess this is a kind of what do you wish question. So what do you wish community partners and supporters knew about Willamette Academy? And this is kind of open-ended. It can be anything, but what's something maybe you don't think most people know, or what's just something that you think doesn't matter if they already know it, I want to say it again. So let's go with Raquel to start us off this time.
I guess something that I wish everyone would know is just how much impact, like I don't know how much I can reiterate, like how much impact Willamette Academy has on someone. Just because I've been in other programs, and it just doesn't have the same impact as Willamette Academy. Just the extent, not only is it longer than most programs, but we see each other almost every year, even when school is not in session. A tremendous amount of help, like through academics, mentally, like even a game of volleyball has been like one of my favorite things, and I will forever automatically clap whenever someone does something. And then also just like how much it is growing, how much impact it does, that when I go to school, I'll talk to staff about it. Even like teachers that I've never had, they'll be like, yeah, I remember having students like even talking about teacher emails. I'll like, oh, I had to do teacher emails. And then I talked to this teacher who was my advisor for a club that I was a chair of, but I've never had her like as an academic teacher. And she'd be like, yeah, oh, I didn't know that's what those emails were for. And she would like talk about like how that essential a skill learning how to write emails were. And even though I wrote them every year, I didn't really know how much that helped me in the end, because writing like emails to like college admissions or writing emails to teachers, or even when I was applying for a certain program, I know for sure that writing those emails was something that probably made me stand out, because I realized not everyone knew how to write emails. And then just how much support there is for Willamette Academy. Because when I say Willamette Academy at school, my friends know what to expect from me, my teachers know what to expect from me, even my principal, just how far the impact goes, not because of the impacted directly, but indirectly of what students are in this program, and just the work ethic that Willamette Academy creates. Yeah, it's just impact all over the place.
Thanks, Raquel. Edgar.
Yeah, so something I think that a lot of community partners and supporters should know about Willamette Academy, right, is the tight knit community that is within the program, right. Most of us already kind of touched on it, right, throughout the call, right, is that throughout these 5 years we've met some of our best friends, right, and that's mainly because of like the amount of countless hours we've spent with each other, right. Some of my best friends I met through the academy, right, and that's our relationships were able to grow, through like college visits, classes we had together because of the academy, right, and like the summer program too, right. So we spent so much time together that it definitely became a second family, a family away from home, right. So I feel like it's really important to express and acknowledge how how tight knit the whole community was, and how much like emotional support we got because of the program, right? Because when things got like harder in like school, right? I kind of like realized that the majority of the people I was talking to about like the struggles I had that were either at school or from home were academy, like the peers I had from the academy, right? And that's kind of just because like they kind of like understood where I was coming from, because like they already knew so much about me because I had already talked to them for more than 4 years, right? So definitely one of the most important things about the academy, I'd say, is just the the overall like emotional support and the tight knit community that it produces for every student. Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks, Edgar. Oscar.
I think one of the most important things that everyone should know about Willamette is that not only that does the program emphasize the buildup of each individual, right, in every way, and personally and academically, but it also emphasizes this idea that we should also be able to give back to the community with all this information and all these experiences that we're having within the program. I mean, like, it's not, they never said, oh, you can't, that this information does not go past the campus, that kind of thing. It's always, we always have the choice to kind of spread Willamette Academy's impact towards our community, and it always ends up happening, whether people know it or not. I mean, creating all these amazing students, in effect, has just positively impacted so many people in so many places that, yeah, that's definitely something everyone should know.
Thanks, Oscar. And last but not least, Andrea.
I think an important thing to note is that it gave us like a place where we actually feel like we belong. Like within our schools, we're kind of minorities and we're trying to like survive, and you know, we're underrepresented students. And just going to the academy, you kind of get this confidence just walking in, going up the stairs, and you're like, yeah, this is where I belong. But it's so nice because you get this like, we even set up our core, our community of respect for everyone, these rules that we're just kind of like supporting each other and we're respecting, and we're just, oh, I love them. But it's a community that we all build, and it makes us grow as individuals, like not only as students, but like learning how to be good leaders, supporting each other and knowing to ask questions, or making sure that we're confident with each other and not feeling like we're left out, which I really felt being part of the academy. And it's not only that they help us with college stuff, which they do, and it's very helpful, but they integrate all these other lessons within. I love circle sits, and it's just kind of like this trusting activity, and it's kind of competitive, just a little, but it's super fun, and it's kind of building our cohorts that are like together, and that's what I loved about it. It's amazing, and I didn't think the program was going to be like that in the beginning. I thought it was just kind of teaching us about college and writing lists, but it became so much more than that, and it holds a very dear place in my heart for the academy, and hopefully I can come back one day and help all these other students. But yeah, I love it.
Amazing. Thanks, Andrea. Way to wrap this portion up. Eric, do you want to do the question and answer piece? And maybe since we're starting to run a little bit low on time, maybe not all four of you answer, but if you feel so moved to answer the question that Eric presents, jump in.
Right on. I was going to say the same thing, Emilio. We've got over a half a dozen questions waiting in the queue as it is. So let's see how many of these we have time to hit. And Edgar, for example, you already touched on this a little bit. Here's one from David Craig. What are your first memories of the Willamette University campus, and how has your perspective changed over time?
Early on, right? When I first saw the campus, right? Definitely loved the campus. It was beautiful stuff, right? It looked really, really pleasing, right? But you know, as I grew, right, and time went on, I kind of started like understanding how great the education there, you know, how great it actually was there, right? And one of the main reasons I say that is because, you know, I didn't, you know, the first thing I knew about the campus, I didn't know how, you know, how small, you know, class sizes were, right? Which was one of the biggest selling points about the university, is that the average amount of students per classroom is like 11 students to one professor, right? And you know, through the academy, right, I kind of like learned how incredible the professors there actually were. One of my earliest memories are from David Craig, because you know, he's an incredible professor who is really enthusiastic, right? He loves birds, right? And it's one of the, you know, the first classes we had over the summer, right? So it kind of like taught me how incredible the professors there actually were, right? So I feel like so I to summarize, right, I kind of feel like the first perspective I had about the university was kind of just like, oh, it's a really pretty campus, you know, which is like really like, you know, it's what a young person would think about when they step on a campus, right? But, you know, as I matured and grew, right, I kind of started to like learn how incredible the academics there were, right? And that's kind of how I ended up falling in love with the school, and specific with the school, you know. Yeah.
All right. Thanks a bunch. Anyone else? Okay, we can move on to the next question. Here's one that I think is a really great one. As you look back on your Willamette Academy experience, what suggestions would you offer on how we can improve the program for future students?
I mean, it's just kind of hard to think about any negatives when I just feel so surrounded by positives. I know I'm really answering any questions, but I mean, what could possibly? Obviously, there's always room for improvement, right? But I can't. I don't know. Can you guys think of anything? Because
I think from the beginning, when we started off in the WANX in the center, that was kind of hard for us to feel like within a part of the university. And now moving to Fine Arts West has been really nice. And we kind of like being right in the middle of the campus. It feels really nice and we feel part of the community. And I think that's a big thing. And we started to notice it, like Emilio said, with a lot of our students going into the bistro, which has been nice. And I think that was a big improvement in itself. Yeah, everything's great, I think. It's great. I love the SAT classes that we took, and it prepared us a lot, which you should really push on the students.
Hey.
And I think you and me, Amelia was talking to me about trying some new things earlier in the year, but yeah, I think that's what I like.
All right. Emilio, I think this one's for you. What kind of support has been important for you and your staff while as you support students and their families?
Oh man, that's a really good question. Let me see if I can find it just so I can read it as well. There it is. Yeah. You know, I think the biggest thing since I've been here is the campus community support. I mean, Edgar's talked about it multiple times with Professor Craig, and we've got stories for Professor Leon Zayas, who I think is on this call, and we've got stories for Cecily McCaffrey, who is on this. There is such a campus movement to find ways to support. One thing that I, in particular, from the parent perspective, is we've had Professor Michael Nino's sociology class a couple different times do research projects with the Academy. And some of that was interviewing parents and getting feedback. Some of that was interviewing our graduates and getting feedback. And so I think when we're able to really integrate into campus to the point where university students are also doing things so that we can be more knowledgeable about where our strengths and our gaps are, is just going to create a stronger program so we know how to answer those questions. You know, I, from the student perspective, one of the reasons why we're doing financial literacy is because our alumni were saying we didn't understand how to be an adult. Like we didn't know, like we didn't get taxes, we didn't get retirement, we didn't get these things. And so we started hearing that feedback. We started thinking, okay, maybe this is what we need to do. With the 4 seniors on the call right now, we had somebody come from MAPS Credit Union and walk them through what $20,000 of federal loan debt actually looks like. Because for our students, that's for some of our students, that's how much of their family makes in a year. And so it's a scary number, but when you really break it down and you understand what monthly payments would look like with what you might be able to expect with the college degree as a starting salary, it doesn't seem so scary anymore. And so those are things that, you know, we might have gotten to based off of hunches, but we were able to actually start implementing because of data. And I think one thing that Delia, Carla, Lizzie before Carla did an amazing job with our parent programming is what is actually most important for our parents to get. And also, what are we doing? We can't just stand up there and lecture at them for 45 minutes or an hour. We actually need to start doing interactive things. And so it's interaction. It's creating, Delia and Carla created a session where parents literally showed up and the whole session was just creating email addresses and being there with parents to get on a computer and walk them through the steps and so that they can feel comfortable doing that. And so it's little things like that don't seem like such a big deal that I think just open those doors not only to our students, but they increase the comfort that our families have in our space as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much. This sounds like a process question for the new students. How will the interviews with new students be affected with the social distancing situation?
Yeah, so we will be interviewing over the next week and a half about 70 students, all virtually. And so Delia and I have tried really hard to not let this moment affect the equity of how we do those interviews. We're still, you know, we're going to be interviewing less students than we usually do, but it won't be that much less. We've really wanted to try to interview as many students as possible. And so it's just going to be a little bit more streamlined. We're going to only interview the students. Normally we interview parents as well, but just to make it a little easier, there's just something that we have to cut out, which is we love talking to parents. We learn a ton about that from them. So we'll do it virtually over Google Hangouts or Zoom, depending on the interview. And we'll be making decisions in the next 2 weeks as to who will be a part of our new 8th grade group next year. But we're trying to make it as equitable as possible and as seamless. So we've got students signed up and ready to rock, though. Our first interview group is Thursday.
Very cool. Very cool. Way to adapt. All right. This is a question from Rosa, who's a previous instructor for a while. And so as a previous contributor and instructor, and given that summer programs are canceled, how can we continue to contribute in this difficult and challenging time?
Students, do you have any ideas? I've got a few, but you might have some. Maybe how could Willamette professors continue to support students given that summer camp's not happening? Can you think of ways?
I mean, there could always be options in the form of workshops, I mean, workshops are not only just, some fun activities. A lot of them are very educational in very many ways. So, I mean, if there's ever a professor who feels they have an activity or some kind of lesson that they know will positively influence the Willamette Academy, I mean, having that as a workshop opportunity first of all, it also opens it up to not just whatever summer camp they're working in. It opens it up to any student who may be interested. So, I mean, that could be an option.
No, that's great, Oscar. Rosa, to that question, I completely agree with Oscar. I think one thing as an example that our university students, both volunteers and staff, our mentors have done this. Some of our ASPAs have done this, but they've actually just done workshops on their majors. And so just as let's do a 30-minute workshop info session about what a biology major is or what a psychology major is. And just to introduce our students to that has been helpful. So even just giving that opportunity has been really nice.
And so here's the great 2 questions to close us out that I think every student can answer in turn, and I'll combine them. One audience member asked one thing about the first year of college or university that you're most excited about, and then another one says, what are y'all most excited about going to college? So I think you can combine those 2 questions and each take a turn answering, and that'll be a great way to round up the evening.
For me, I feel like definitely what I'm most excited about is definitely, the new things that are gonna, pop into my life, right? Because, most of us can remember that, like when you go from middle school to high school, right? Your freshman year, right? You're excited about every single little thing that happens just because like everything is so new, right? And that's what I'm looking forward to the most, right? I want to feel like a freshman again. I want to be excited about every single little thing that pops into my life, right? And I feel like going to college, right? It's going to be one of the biggest transitions I'm going to, face in my life, mainly because I'm going to be, not living in my house anymore, right? I'll be on campus, right? And, with that, there comes a whole lot more responsibility and a whole lot of, newer things, right? So I feel like I'm going to, be a whole lot more enthusiastic about every single little thing that I'm doing just because everything else is like so new to me, right? So I'd say that definitely the thing I'm most excited about is, just being excited about everything.
I guess I'll go next. Something that I'm really most excited about is not only being able to be on my own, which is really exciting, but also really scary since I've never, ever been away from my family, especially since we're a very, family is everything type of family. But I'm really excited for the scholarship program that I was accepted to, not only because I know I will be able to build a community once I'm there, but hopefully if all goes well and if the plan is still the plan, I will be actually leaving 5 weeks earlier to Colgate University to be able to experience another sort of summer camp called the Summer Institute, where I will be able to gain college credit because I'll be able to kind of already take classes at Colgate University with professors, as well as taking trips, leadership training, and getting to bond and getting to bond with the scholars in the scholars program. So that's really what I'm most excited about. And not only that, but the challenges that I'm going to face, even though they're challenges, I'm ready to learn just because of all the learning I've done so far. I want to be able to learn more and stay connected to my community, my Willamette Academy community, my McKay community, and be able to help out students similar to my background to make sure that it's not just me and that this cycle continues, and that I'm able to use my networks at different universities or my networks from all these programs and all these clubs and experiences that I've had to help out others, because not only it's about building up myself, but building up my community, and being able to do that is really what it's all for.
What I'm definitely, I would say a lot comes from what Edgar said. I am most excited about what's new, right? Like I'm no longer going to be in Oregon, so that'll be a complete change of pace. Not only weather-wise, that's the one thing I'm going to be struggling with, the heat, but just, college life just sounds so exciting. Definitely compared to any other life I've ever been accustomed to. And so I am definitely excited about all things college.
I think for me, I'm really excited to learning to become really independent, and learning how to cook on my own, because my mom has been really pushing me on that. But I think, yeah, like Edgar said and Oscar, I'm really excited for everything, and all these little things that I'm super excited. And I started looking at clubs already, and I'm like all ready. But also, like Raquel said, looking forward to those challenges, and I want to learn and like become a whole new person, I guess, and just learn, and then teach to others. And I'm looking forward to helping my little sister with all her college process and everything in the future.
Thanks so much for sharing those, all that excitement with us. Emilio, do you have anything else that you want to share before I wrap us up for the evening?
No, I just appreciate every one of the 40 plus that joined and the 27 that are still here. Your support being here means a ton to myself and the amazing staff that we have, our amazing alumni, and not only these 4 students, but the other 144 that we support each year, who make this job really, really enjoyable. So even during these challenging times.
Right on. Well, thanks, Emilio, for providing these updates this evening on Willamette Academy. And then a huge special thanks to Andrea, Edgar, Raquel, and Oscar for sharing your experience. And we wish you the best of luck in your upcoming adventures. What an incredible group of students. I really enjoyed and appreciated hearing everything you had to share with us tonight. And our audience did as well. If you haven't had a chance to look in the chat box, student panel, before you leave this evening, make sure you peruse the chat box. There's just an outpouring of support and excitement and enthusiasm from our audience members tonight, and they really enjoyed everything that you had to share as well. And if speaking of the audience, if you enjoyed this interview and this webinar this evening and would like to see more interviews or webinar presentations, as well as other exciting Willamette content, please continue to check out WooStream, as we'll be adding new content weekly. All right, thanks again, everyone. Thanks again, Emilio. Thanks again to our student panelists, and take care, everyone. Thanks for joining us on WooStream. Be well.